Prepare to be blown away. I'm going to connect some dots for you in this video that involve this guy, it involves the Federal Reserve, it involves the tariffs, and it involves the stock market. And nobody is talking about this, so please listen up. So you'll all be aware about the tariffs. He's just slapped them on the European Union, Canada, China, Mexico. Is there another country around the world he's not tariffing? And he spun this like he's trying to level the playing field and stop America getting ripped off. There is a bigger play going on here, and your mind is going to be blown. Check this out. So this year, the US needs to refinance, in about 7 months, $9.2 trillion worth of debt. It needs to refinance. The debt is maturing. Currently, the interest rates with the Fed are quite high, and this is a problem. This guy's background is property, and property includes refinancing, and he understands finance costs and how dilapidating high finance costs can be. What he's done with the tariffs, intentionally I believe, is to crash the stock market. The stock market, the Dow Jones, is crashing. Investors are absolutely panicking. It's the same in the cryptocurrency market. Cryptocurrency markets crashed. They've bounced a little bit, but they're on a downward trend. Now, what happens when investors are flooding out of the stock market, out of equities? Where do they go? They will go into things like gold, silver, but they will also go into things like government bonds. So as investors flood out of the stock market and into government bonds, what happens then? This drives down the yield on bonds. It drives down the return on bonds. So when the return and the yield on bonds decreases, on government bonds decreases, what does this do? It forces the Federal Reserve to lower interest rates, which up to this point it's been resistant to do. Trump administration has been putting pressure on the Federal Reserve to lower interest rates for a while, and it's been resistant. However, the Federal Reserve is the government's bank. That's where the government goes to borrow money. So if the Federal Reserve knows that the government which is a private corporation, by the way, it knows that the US government needs to refinance all of this debt, why would it lower rates? It's going to resist until the US needs to refinance. So I believe what you're seeing is a huge game. What you're seeing is the biggest game of high-stakes poker the world has ever seen, with about 1.7 trillion that's come out of the stock market and the crypto market. 1.7 trillion per hand. It's the biggest high-stakes poker game you've ever seen between Donald Trump, his administration, and the Federal Reserve. And the idea is to collapse the stock market, to cause investors to come out, go into government bonds, and then those government bond yields come down, forces the US Federal Reserve to lower its interest rates, and the US can refinance its $9 trillion debt. So my belief is what you're going to see is the markets completely soften. The US Federal Reserve is going to capitulate. It's going to lower its interest rate. The US will refinance all of its debt on a lower interest rate. And then you're going to see a bounce in the markets like you've never seen before. Forget the moon, forget Valhalla. This stuff is going outside of this dimension. And buckle up, ladies and gentlemen, because Big Balls is at the table. Anyway, take care, stay blessed, eyes and ears open, as always.